South Alabama's kind of like what I thought last week watching the tape. Very capable team, big, fast, explosive, lots of matchup issues for your team. Give Coach Campbell some credit. They had them ready to go, and we weren't at our best at times. I think we didn't strike blockers up front, weren't decisive in our run fits, missed more tackles than we have. And certainly some of the players that they have on defense, the defensive front, the edge players, the length at corner, created some issues and they slowed us down at times. I thought we did a terrific job in the kicking game. Two huge explosive returns. We neutralized their returner. We always put a premium on covering kicks and punts. Saturday it was very important, and we did a nice job with that. I thought Coach Powledge had a really good plan. The players played well in that phase. So, good team win on the road. Maybe not as decisive as some people wanted, but we'll take it against a good Western Division, road win. And we come back home for what I would agree again is a team that is very, very capable. Very explosive on offense. This is probably one of the better group of skill players that we played against this year. Veteran offensive line and quarterback, and I think they're leading the country in points scored, maybe top 2 or 3 in the country the last couple of weeks. And they're getting better on defense. You can see there's it's a new staff over there. Certainly a lot of new coaches working together, and they're making improvement. Created 4 takeaways against Texas State, pick 6 in the fourth quarter. So, we know Troy. We played against this group of players last year, very much a veteran group. And we're excited about the challenge, and I think it's going to be a great challenge. We look forward to it. We're in the middle of it now, putting the plan together, grinding it out, and, players came in yesterday excited about what's in front of us here. So one thing I want to make mention of was the fact that Saturday will be Military Appreciation Day for the athletic department for our football team. I oftentimes think that sometimes we lose sight of what these people do for us. I think it's important to recognize and appreciate all of our servicemen and women that are out there protecting what I would say sometimes we take for granted. But I think one of the things that we try to do in this week and throughout the year is educate our players on that part. And certainly Saturday will be an opportunity for us to do that. There'll be a number of events throughout the week and throughout game day that will be, dedicated to those people. So we look forward to that, and certainly celebrating them and having a great attitude and being grateful for what they do for us is important. Go ahead.
How do you think your cornerbacks held up with Jacquet out, and what's the situation there, especially considering you're facing a 3,000 yard?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. We expect to get Mike back this week. Mike had a little bit of a lingering issue there that, kind of happened during the game, and then we held him a little bit last week. It became a little bit more of a problem, but he wasn't ready to play. And we felt like we held him. We activated Mekhi Garner, who played really well in the game, certainly played well on defense and on special teams. He's a rookie player that we're going to play for 4 games, so that was great timing relative to what our plan for him. I thought Eric played well. AJ played well. Now, it wasn't a game where they were tested, but I think relative to what we were asking them to do, they did a nice job. Those guys have played good ball for us throughout the season. Kamar was a little bit banged up last week. He was a little bit limited in his role. So it was Eric, AJ, Mekhi, and they really stepped up and played well for us.
How important will the corners be again?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think this is a matchup game all the way. You got to do a good job mixing it up, but very much like Arkansas State, there's going to be some big-time matchups outside, even in the slot. They've got some matchup issues there. They play in 4 wides probably 40% of the time. So there's going to be a number of things here where there's going to be individual matchups that will be critical in the game for sure.
What about about his skill set and did this, like, was he just not maybe quite ready early in the year? Because we heard his name a little bit early, and
yeah.
he didn't. And did y'all make a decision really early on the 14th?
Well, if you look at our team, we had Kamara and Mike and Eric and AJ. Certainly Dorsey has even played at times for us. So we had 5 corners there. So we saw it. This kid's a 4-for-3 player. So he does have that red shirt in his back pocket. If he'd had 3-for-3, probably would have already been playing. But with being a 4-for-3 player, we felt like it would be good for him to redshirt and certainly still play the guy. So we've been developing his role on special teams throughout the year. Trying to get him equipped to do that. And then he's improved as a corner. I think he's getting more and more comfortable with what we're trying to do. This is a young man. He's 6'1 3/4", almost 200 pounds, and really, really good skill set. Super long, can run with you. And what I like about the guy is he's a tough, physical competitor. He's got a smile on his face and a great attitude and approach. One of the better practice players that we have.
What other freshmen might you activate with the 4 now?
I think that we're pretty settled in relative to who those guys are going to be. Most of those guys are in reserve roles. Mackay would be the one of note that you'll start to see more often. I think a lot of the other guys will have to do with how the games go, if that makes sense.
Zion, is it too early on him, or what do you know?
Right now, we don't anticipate having Zion for the game. He would be doubtful. Similar injury to maybe what he had last year. Not the same one, but the other. But it'll be one that's going to take some time, and we won't know until it's going to be a couple of days before to get an idea of where he's at. How stable is it? Those types of things. So unfortunate, and certainly going to miss Zion, but it's going to be a terrific opportunity for some of these defensive linemen that we've been grooming and working with and coaching and developing throughout the year. And the team needs them. It's a critical time of the year, and certainly their role is going to increase.
Do you use Higgins maybe a little bit more inside? Does Mayhew take on a bigger role? And then also, just while I'm thinking of it, since we're doing personnel, just to be certain, you get Moncrief for the whole game, right?
Yeah, he sat out the second half of the game. I think the big thing is, if you watch us play, it's a nickel type of game these days. So we play with 2 inside guys already for the most part. If you count Manak and Andre as edge players, so Benny's role will continue to be the same. You're just going to see Jaquan Nelson, Kendall Wilkerson, Madry Maypew. There's other guys too, and I think there'll be competition for who those other people are this week.
You mentioned run fit several times. When you look at the film, was it more, you just got to give South Alabama more credit than maybe some of us were given, or was it really the worst technique-wise that y'all played?
Yeah, no, I think, one of the reasons we've been playing really effective defense is we've made significant progress fundamentally, I think at all 3 levels, and great communication, continuity, always on the same page, very coordinated in what we were doing. And that wasn't the case Saturday. We were not near as effective. And if Coach Roberts was up here, he'd tell you the same thing. Fundamentally not as good, didn't communicate as well, not as decisive, and missed more tackles, we allowed them to stay in the game and hang around and allowed them to play that brand of football. I think I look more of it as a team. Okay, hey, what if we score touchdowns instead of settle for field goals? Maybe we can get the game under control, make them become one-dimensional. We allowed them to hang around, and that's the type of team they are, and that's the way that they're most effective. So it's a team deal, but certainly for a team to rush for as many yards and have as many yards as they have, we didn't get off off the field. We allowed them to score touchdowns in the red zone. We did not do what we have been doing, if that makes sense. So all things that are very, very correctable is what I would say.
You mentioned it a little bit in your opening statement, but just how much respect do you have for Troy and just the amount of success that they've had in the Sun Belt and kind of having their place in this conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I texted Neil a couple of days ago congratulating on him at, West Virginia had a big win over Kansas State, I think. So, Neil was there, I think, maybe 4 seasons, and really over time, they developed a really good football team, recruited well, played good team football. Certainly, Vic Koenig, their former defensive coordinator, I was his graduate assistant. So there's a lot to be said about what they've been able to accomplish there here in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And certainly, the team that they have right now is a very, very capable team. And they've lost a handful of guys. They had some grad transfers and things like that, but it's still a good roster and a very capable team.
And this team, of course, has a chance to beat the Sun Belt West Division this weekend. I'm sure the group understands what is
Sure.
ahead with this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all aware of that. We've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. We control our own destiny, and this Saturday will be no different. We need to go out here and play our best football game. Each one of these games is an individual deal. It's a different mission, it's different matchups, different personnel, different concepts, different locations. So I think you got to do a good job of, really zeroing in what are going to be the important things for this week, fundamentally, conceptually, matchup-wise, making sure that we're in the right frame of mind and we're ready to play, which is, every week is a little bit of a different challenge. I know one thing, we're excited to be back home, and certainly, we played Troy last year, and we have a ton of respect for that program and this group of players.
Coach, first perfect road record since 1970. I know those games are behind you and you guys still have a lot of goals in front of you, but what does that say about the growth of this program?
Well, I think our team, when the schedule came out, you just looked at it, you would have said, man, we got some tough games in front of us here on the road. We went to Ohio, we went to Georgia Southern, Arkansas State, South Alabama. Certainly, those are all stable, consistent football programs. They've done a nice job in this league, been some of the better teams in this league. So that's what I'm most excited about is we beat some good teams. We happen to be on the road. I think that we worked really hard, quality controlled our routine on the road, things that we maybe could do better, and worked really hard just from every area, operations, strength conditioning, pregame. I mean, any and everything that we could do to try to make improvement. I think some of those slight tweaks and changes helped us. And then we just played better football. Regardless of where we played winning football. And we found ways to win games in a lot of different ways. And certainly I think that's the type of team you're going to have, you got to have in this league, and then certainly if you're going to win a championship.
You got even more votes this week in the poll. Are y'all so focused on the mission because you're getting down to the end and your goals really being realized that's not even a blip on the radar?
Yeah, I mean, all that's going away if you get beat, So, I mean, the only thing we can do is try to get our team ready to play, zero in on the things that are relative to play and winning football this week, and certainly Troy, we're going to have to be at our best.
Coach, we talked a little bit about it after the game on Saturday, but I know you talked about it after the game. Talk to me about how you've seen your special teams unit grow from the summer to where it is right now.
Well, I think we played really well on special teams. I think this season, if you the struggles we had early with the PAT field goal unit, whether that was the snap, the hold, the entire operation, the protection, that unit was a little bit of an eyesore, at some point there, and then I think going into the open date, that was one of the very specific things that we felt like we needed to improve at. If you go back, I think we had 3 huge punt returns that got called back for penalties. We've been really close at times, breaking it open with some significant returns. But, if you're going to have a good football team, you got to cover kicks. You got to be able to control the field position. That's one of the things that we've done really, really well throughout the year. We go back all the way to Mississippi State where we had a punt return that was pretty significant in the game. We've got good specialist play. Kenny Almendaris has really emerged and been a consistent, dependable player. Reese Burns has been outstanding. Paul Boudreaux has been very, very effective. And then we have a core group of players that have done a nice job. You got to give your tip of the hat to Matt Powledge. I think he's outstanding. He's a great leader. I think he's a terrific teacher. I basically meet with him once a week with the staff to talk about the plan, the matchups, how we kind of see the game going. And then, it's his show. He does a great job scripting, planning practice, certainly all the meetings, all the walkthroughs, and then they're ready to play. And they play really hard. You put that film on, it's some of the best effort on our team. So we'll need to continue to win that phase if we're going to do anything significant here.
Coach, can you discuss, like, sometimes when a guy's healthy enough to play doesn't mean he's really ready to be at the level that he was before he was injured. Trey seems not quite. And you mentioned him the other night. Right. It was good to see him have a big run. Right. How close is he to where he was before he did?
Well, I think it's all subjective. I think that's a question probably for Trey, but he certainly has practiced better. It was good to get him in there for him to have some success. I think one of the reasons maybe it didn't look like he was cutting it loose is it was 4 minutes, and he was really focused on that ball, So he carried it with 2 hands, I think, the whole time he was running it. So, and that's good situation awareness by the kid. So I think Trey's fine, man. He's ready to go, and certainly, every week that he goes without having a setback or getting re-injured is good for him, and hopefully we can get him back and he can be the Trey Regis that we all know.
2 things. Hunt, has he made any progress, or might you be out with him again? And then also with Troy, have you faced anybody like as prolific through the air as him?
Right.
What's the best comparison for what you?
Yeah. No, I think Robert has made lots of good progress. We left him at home Saturday, and he had a good day's work, and he's up and moving and running and those types of things. So we anticipate knowing pretty soon kind of where he's at. Whether or not he'll be available this week he's kind of day to day. I think that this passing attack and this group of skill players is one of the best we've faced. That to go along with the quarterback and the veteran offensive line. You don't just score like they've been scoring if you don't have good players at all positions, which I think they do. So, I don't know that we've faced anybody quite like this since we've been here. They're the top scoring offense in our league, one of the tops in the country. So it's a good group of players, and certainly they're starting to have more and more of a feel for what they're doing, which I think is Coach Lindsey's done a terrific job.
A couple more for Coach, please. Or no more. Okay.
All right, guys.